It's still the front burners, and we're not done with policy discuss. We have another policy to look at, and that is the land use charge of Lagos State. Now, for the year 2025, the Lagos State government has released the land use charge bill, offering property owners a 15% discount for payments made within 30 days of receipt. Now, the announcement was made by the Commissioner for Finance, Abayomi Oluyemi, in a statement on the state government's official website on Sunday. How does this affect property owners? Is it a relief for them that there is a 15% discount for those who will pay up early? And what is the land use charge for? What is the government's reciprocal role for property towards property owners if they are paying property tax? What then should the government do to benefit them and by extension benefit residents of Lagos who occupy these properties? Talking to us about this today is Otunba Gbemi, who is a property developer, and we're joined also by a legal practitioner as we look at this today. Thank you for joining, Otunba Gbemi. It looks a busy day for you as you're on the move.
Oh yeah, this is Lagos. We have to be on the move all the time.
Okay, so let's see if we can have the conversation. Property, the Lagos Land Use Charge 2025 offers 15% discount. Are you relieved by that as a property developer?
It is an action that shows that the government is also responding to the hardship, that property owners are actually going through. In fact, I can say this is just another form of subsidy, indirect subsidy to alleviate, the hardship in the economy. And then also Lagos State, known for effective revenue collection, actually do not want, a lot of people to default. So it's a win-win thing. We're giving you 15% if you can pay within this window, so that at least so many property owners can take advantage of that. So it's good news. And then for me also, it also shows a responsive government, so that is just what has happened. How else will the government be able to respond to the hardship and, to alleviate, some of the difficulties, that people are going through. So it's a welcome initiative.
Just been informed now that Victor Jibiner Esquire, who is a legal practitioner, legal lawyer, and a property consultant, has joined so we can have a full conversation looking at all sides. Thank you for joining, Victor Jibiner Esquire. All right, so we just had the property developer respond. He says it's a relief for property owners, the 15% discount. But let's get to understand what the land use charge is and how it came to be, particularly in Lagos State. And could you please unmute your device?
Oh, sorry, I was muted. So, land use charge. Now, the land use charge is a tax that is usually levied on landed properties in Lagos State. So that's basically what the land use charge is.
What's this used for? And what is the implication for those who are not complying? If you can also give us an understanding of the compliance rate in Lagos State.
Well, there are penalties for defaults in paying the land use charge, just as much as there are also, benefits or considerations for those who pay their land use charge as at when due. Like I know, there's usually this form of benefits given to those who can pay their land use charge within 15 days, of the demand for the payment of the land use charge. They give a discount, so to speak, the form of a discount for those who can pay within 15 days after making the demand for the payment of the land use charge. Of course, where there is a default in paying this land use charge, the authority in charge of collection usually goes to this property where they are situated and puts a sticker sign showing that that property is should be locked. It should be sealed. There's usually this seal that is usually attached or affixed on the property that is currently in default of paying this land use charge, showing that this property should be under this under seal, should not be opened or should be in use. So.
Very much, Barrister Jubono. But first of all, let me direct my question to Otunba Gbemi, who is the developer and one who is really actively in the sector of real estate. Otunba Gbemi, are you still there?
Yes, I'm here.
Now, as a developer, this is Lagos, and somehow we all know some of the issues and challenges we face when we are as developers or as a private person who is building his or her house. What are some of the challenges you face as a developer, either within an estate trying to build or develop a property or outside just on the main street? What are the challenges you encounter and how have you been able to surmount them?
Like everyone in Lagos and in Nigeria, we just find alternatives. Of course, cost has always been the issue. I mean, particularly in the last, 2 years, cost of building materials have gone up by over 500%. So that is the greatest challenge. And that is why if you notice the buildings coming up in Lagos now, nobody is building 3-bedroom, 4-bedroom anymore. Most of the buildings now, it's either a 1-bedroom, 2-bedroom, 1-bedroom, 2-bedroom, and that's why you're having terraces so that you can have more apartments or flats in one building. So it's clearly reflective of, the kind of structures that we're having. And of course, that also creates another problem where substandard buildings are also, coming up. And I think the state has to really, really have a strong task force, because if people continue to erect substandard buildings now, in another 5-10 years, that is when the collapse, of those structures, will start happening. So it has to be looked into now because of the cost. In fact, as I speak to you now, it is so dangerous now for you to use, rods that are just manufactured in Nigeria or even imported, because they are substandard. Now we have discovered that iron rods that are meant to be 12 mm, they are now being reduced to 9 mm. And for people who don't know, that's going to be a serious problem. So so government also need to really enforcement and supervision or whatever really needs to come into the system.
Very much. Now, the reason why I asked that question is so that you can point out some of this with regards to substandard materials and how the Lagos state government should come into the picture in carrying out regulatory activities. However, before I let you go, what about the challenges? Do you have challenges with the homeowners and how you have been able to overcome that, so that Barrister Jubono can equally tell us the role that Lagos state government is playing concerning the homeowners and the roles they play in there?
I think we've gone past that. Now at least we know how to manage them. Most of them are also more, more knowledgeable now. So it's not like how it used to be, because now as a developer, then we already bring them on board and then, do all the needful. So that is no longer much of an issue now if you really know where you are entering, and then you know the right people in the family to deal with. So that's just what I did say.
Okay.
Look at the legal side of this now, in the way that Barrister Juvenile, in the way that the property tax, or in this case the land use charge, is calculated. What are the considerations in assessing how much a building gets to pay, or a property owner gets to pay for a particular property? It seems like Victor Juvenile Esquire needs a bit of time. We'll give him some time so he can respond to the question. But in the meantime, looking at the property tax, let me take this now to Otunba Gbemi. Now, when you are charged for land use, have there been any instance where you disagree with the charge on your property? How do you think the assessment is done?
Well, every now and then we disagree. That's the truth, because how do you actually value, my property? How do I believe in your valuation? So we need, how do I agree with your valuation? So there's always, those negotiations that actually also go on and all that, but it's something that if you have been in the system for long, then we always know how to manage that, because you need to manage your expectation. And Lagos State has also been robust enough. There are more professionals, and then the system is open for dialogue, assessment, and then there's a face to everything, so we've been able to manage it.
Hope that Victor Juvenile is ready. Could you please respond to that? The assessment of the land use charge. How do you think it's done? Hello. Okay. Perhaps there's some internet challenge there from the end of Victor Juvenile Esquire. We would get him back on the conversation when that is resolved. Oh, okay. But what do you expect as a property developer, Gbemi Otunba, if you are paying the land use charge, if you are paying every tax that comes for owning a property? Are there areas you expect the government to come in to provide some form of support to the developers?
Well, that is where the challenge and sometimes the frustration actually comes in for developers, whereby we create the roads, we do the drainages, we put on the solar lights, we do everything, do the water system. So, and then when you are now done, the government comes in to collect tax, for a property that, no infrastructure has come from the government. Landlord association has to, contribute for years, trying to do the roads, do everything, provide their security. We do everything. So, and the essence of paying tax is for government to be able to provide this basic infrastructure. The way it's done in a more civil climate, it's, the basic road to, to access your property is provided by the government. Security is provided in the county or in the area. So but we're not there yet here. It's not happening. And we have not seen much of government's interest to move in that direction. I know that Lagos State, try to do some of those kind of things when they open up certain areas. They just do the road and at least to open up the area. But when it comes to each of the streets or estates, or then is left to the landowners to do. So that is the part that is not complete, because we are not seeing the government actually do all of those or provide those infrastructures that should be basic infrastructure, that should be, even in terms of electricity. The estate will buy their own transformer, buy the electric poles, run the cable. I mean, all this, and at the end of the day, your property is being valued based on the amount you have invested, not the amount that the government has invested. So all the area that we live now, government has not done anything. But when they want to value, they value it based on what you have invested and then tax you on it. So there's a serious dichotomy in that regard that, morally, the government should look into.
Thank you so very much. I was going to ask that moral question. How moral is a land use charge? When, of course, you have to pay government certificate of occupancy, or if you are doing a deed of assignment, you have to pay money to the state government. And then, of course, the infrastructure that you need to connect those places, government does not add any value to it. Your property does not receive any value from the government. And then they come back and ask you for land use charge, which you do annually. What's the level of engagement between property developers and government authority to actually address this moral dilemma?
Yes, we've been engaging government, but again, the government looks at it as tax. Yes, you have to tax every building, you have to tax every property in the state. So yes, legally, that is the right thing. But again, the moral side of it, what did you do? How much of government investment went into such areas, such locality, to be able to, although the explanation of the government is also that, yes, the land use charge also is graded. It's not the same percentage for those in Ikoyi and VI. So areas are graded so that you are not paying the same valuation if you have the same property in Ikoyi and then you have another one in Aja, So that is the way they have done that, to say, okay, it's not like a flat rate sort of. So, so that's the only explanation in that regard that they've done. But the moral issue is the fact that the government should actually provide basic at the beginning, because that is the most difficult stage. And then you go to so many areas, there's no electricity. People have been living there for decades, no road, and then by the time developers move into such areas, do sand filling, do road, do everything, and then they can now see an estate, then they come with a tax. So we'll continue to.
All right, thank you very much. Because while I was looking at the report that spoke extensively about the land use charge, the reduction, 15% for developers, some of the things that it was meant to use for, you have rightly mentioned, for infrastructure, the building of schools, the building of hospitals, providing pipe-borne water. Now, in the absence of the government doing this, is there a platform where both the government and the developers come to the table to discuss each other's responsibility and how both parties are responsible to play their roles effectively so that we can have a smooth running of business. Is there a platform for that purpose?
Yes, there is. There is, and there are also programs every year that bring developers, with the government, rub minds, raise all these issues. There's a good rapport, open programs for that. But when do we see a positive change in that direction? So that is the only question. Or when will the government be able to own up and say, okay, if we have not provided you, basic infrastructure, maybe for so years, you will not be asked to pay, so all those kind of things are what we expect from the government.
Okay. Looking at the charges, you say, of course, it's graded for locations. Does it have any significant effect on rent and property sales at all in Lagos?
Oh, yes, it does. Because the property owner is going to build that into his own cost. And then, so at the end of it, it's still going to be passed down to the tenants. That is it.
We are billing the tenants and those who are buying.
And that is why the cost of rent keeps going up. Till now, the cost of house rent keeps going up. Why? Because the cost of building materials keep going up, and then and based on it, you still want to pay your tax and provide basic infrastructures, So that is where the problem is.
The provision in the land use charge that exempts retirees from this land payment of the land use charge, is that actually implemented? And how do retirees who own properties go about to actually show that they are retirees to benefit from this exemption clause?
Well, that one might be easier for civil servants. But for a man who is a private business owner, how do you want to determine when he becomes a retiree? Who keeps the data? The state doesn't have the data of, business owners for you to know, at what point do they become retirees? So, but for civil servant, yes, it's easier for them to know, okay, the man retires at 65, and then, okay, he's out of service, and then he can probably apply for that. But I'm sure most people are not even aware of this.
Okay, so going forward, what would you ask that the government should do to ensure that, fine, you have good rapport with the government, property owners and the government have good rapport, but some of those discussions, how would you want the government to approach it so it doesn't end at the level of just having a good rapport?
Yeah, it's just to continue, like the 15%, discount. Like I said earlier, yeah, it shows a responsive government knowing that, yeah, things are really tough for now. So it's just for the government to look into that direction and then know how to bring succor to, property owners, which will also impact on property development. And, in Lagos alone, whether there's a housing deficit for over 10,000 or maybe millions of people, we are short of basic, housing for residents in Lagos, because this is where, so many people troop into every day. So the demand for housing in Lagos is always on the rise. And if the government makes it easier for developers, to be able to put up structures and then support them, it will help, because government cannot do everything. It's not possible. Government cannot build all the houses that, people will need. It's not possible. So it's still the private developers that can aid and support government in that drive.
Okay, Mr. Dr. Gbemi, look at it from this angle as a developer. We also saw that in other climes, people are actually building vertically now. And here in Nigeria, especially in Lagos, where we have a very limited land mass, we're still doing a horizontal development. And we're not thinking about population increase in a few years to come. We will be about 450 million by the year 2030 as it's been proposed. Is there any plan to see how we can actually begin to develop vertically rather than this C of O given to 60 by 100 plot of land?
The major problem is electricity. Funny enough, how do you want to build high rises if there is no constant power supply that is affordable? Currently, those who are on Band A in Banana Island, in fact, there is a story of a man who visited his friend in Banana Island. This happened just late last year. In Banana Island, the man could not use his AC during the day because of the cost. Because if you have an apartment in Banana Island and you want to really use light 24/7, then every month you'll be paying close to ₦1 million on electricity alone. Come on. So it's the cost of electricity must come down. It must be affordable. Then it must be constant before you can start erecting residential houses, on high-rise buildings. Because do you want to be running on generator? Because when you're on a high-rise, there must be light 24/7. Somebody is using the lift. Safety is key. So if electricity is not solved, that is the greatest challenge. It is cheaper for people to build vertically. And that is why all the properties, they are all on high rise, because that's the only way they can actually make more money. So it's cheaper for you to put a 21-story building on one plot of land than to put 4 flats or put, just so. But without electricity being made available and affordable, that we cannot move into that. And Lagos.
All right, finally, as a wrap up, you just talked about making more money. Now, we understand that building materials are expensive, and then the property owners also have tax to pay and provide some infrastructure. But do you think that the houses in Lagos, some of them are overpriced? Recently, there's been like some review of the houses in Lagos, and online, it is said that some of these houses are overpriced. Do you agree with that?
Well, it's about simple law of demand and supply. Like in any capitalist economy, you price your item, product, services based on demand. If the demand is high, the price is high. So if you overprice your property and nobody is able to afford it, or it's there for years and nobody's going to tell you to to bring down the price. So that is a free economy, capitalist economy. So you want to maximize, value or sales or profit on whatever you have. And if people patronize you or can afford it or can pay for it, nobody's going to arrest anybody. So because there are cheaper properties that you can also go and buy. Nobody's forcing you to buy the one that is expensive. So it's a free economy.
Lagos State was recommending monthly payment system rather than the annual or even twice a year, the annual or 2 years, 3 years payment that some developers, some landlords are currently demanding. What's your take on that? Is this feasible?
That is going to be a challenge also, because developers, they have invested millions of naira to put up a structure. Prices are going up. Value of naira is coming down. So you want to, as much as possible, collect what you can collect on time. And then also the fact that we don't have a good credit system. This idea is only going to be possible when we have a good credit system where workers, people can easily, have a system of payment. Because will I be calling my tenant every month and say, you have not paid for last month, you have not paid? Who is going to, you can't even go through that. Even the one that is annual, you still have to chase tenants. Sometimes you have to write letters. Look, your lawyer will write letters before they pay, even when they are corporate clients. Even in VIA, even in Ikoyi, for them to pay. We don't have a good payment system. So that is going to be a challenge. But I believe if the government actually is able to put in place a good credit system for the citizens, where it's easy for people to get ahead, then that is going to be possible and easier to do, because it's just for you to instruct your bank and say, hey, pay every month, all these kind of things, and then you settle. So that is what I think can make that possible.
Thank you so much, Otunba Gbemi, for making time out, regardless of your busy schedule, to be part of the front burners today.
Thank you very much. It's my pleasure always.
Wednesday will be another time when the front burners come on live on Sook News TV. Be sure you are a part of it. You stand to benefit a lot of information and a chance to add your voice to any issue that will be discussed here on the show. I am Blessing Eichie. Please stay tuned to Sook News TV for more wonderful programs, including news.
Idahosa Osamhanze is my name. I think Chooks needs to manage me as a football star.
Okay.
I need to earn some pounds and live some very beautiful things. I used to
as a coach or a player?
As a player, I think I'm not too old to play.
I think I need to find out from Chooks if we have on the 60, on the 70 scores in any part of the world. It's
good being here this morning. Follow us on our social media handles. Stay front burners, and we will be here tomorrow to make your day. Do have a splendid time out there.
Thank you, Doc. Thank you, Blessing. I'm Oyinpreye Krumale. Thanks for watching.